Habit number 1, eat plenty of fruit and veg. Sounds really simple, but we need to make sure our body's in the best position to perform. And for that, it needs to be healthy. So we've all heard of 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. We need to be looking at really 7 to 8 portions. So if we can have fruits for snacks, smoothies, and when we start bringing into our meals 1 to 2 hand-sized portions of vegetables, we'll hit that easily, and that's going to make sure that our body stays nice and healthy and aids recovery of our sessions when we do them. Leading on from that is habit number 2, and that's loving the kitchen. Again, sounds really simple, but if we can spend a bit of time each week focusing on what we might eat that week, preparing food, looking at our shopping of what's coming in that week, and having some level of planning, maybe learning lots of new recipes, cooking some new things that makes food exciting again, it's going to make sure that we have a nice, diverse, healthy range of food throughout the week. And more importantly, we're not going to get cut short. So we can have food in the freezer, or we could have food that's already pre-cooked if we have a lot of time. And we can make sure that all of our week is nicely laid out. So when life gets in the way, we're not going to end up rushing together some meal that makes us ultimately miserable. Habit 3, and this is a huge one for runners, is hydration. I would imagine that most runners don't drink enough. Actually, there's a couple of studies done at the London Marathon which showed that a lot of the runners on the start line were already dehydrated before they actually started running. Hydration plays a huge part in how we feel, in how we recover, in how we perform, in how we sleep. And for most males, you would need 2 litres a day and then another 500 ml per hour of exercise. And for females, you would need 1.6 litres with another 500 ml per hour of exercise. So for perspective, that bottle there is 700 ml. So for the gents watching, you would need on average 3 of those a day. For the females, slightly under 3 of those a day. So if you're not drinking that much, what you can do is make sure that you have a bottle like this that you take to work with you, and maybe just have a reminder on your phone or on your watch that just beeps occasionally that will remind you to drink, or having a pint of water after you brush your teeth in the morning, and just form that habit to make sure we can get through this amount of water each day. Habit number 4 is eat enough protein. Our bodies need protein to recover, they need it to repair, and they need it to perform. And we often, runners or not, don't eat enough protein in our day-to-day diets. Now you can get protein from a number of sources. It doesn't always have to be meat. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can get your proteins from other sources. But we actually have to try to eat about 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So if you was to quickly calculate your body weight, times that by 1.2, that will give you a gram of protein you should be eating. And I can guarantee for most of us, we won't be there. So there's a number of things we can do to up that. You can do it by supplementation, or you can start looking at bringing protein high foods into your diet more. If you are a meat eater, that can be via meat or fish. If you're not a meat eater, you can look through pea proteins and things like that that would up your levels of protein in your day-to-day life. That's going to help you recover. It's going to help you stay injury-free. It's going to make sure as well that you stay full. Protein's got a really high satiety, so it means that you can stay fuller for longer when you're eating it and it's in your diet. Habit 5 is sleep. Now, as a new dad, this is something I always need. But we should be aiming to get about 6 to 7 hours of sleep per night. Now, if you work on shift patterns that don't allow that, or if you've got things in your life that restrict the amount of sleep you get, we just need to make sure we try and put things in place to give us as much sleep as possible and at the right times. So if we can keep on a similar sleep cycle, that is really important. Going to bed at a similar time and trying to wake up at a similar time, but also setting the conditions in your sleeping environment. Making sure it's dark, making sure it's quiet, making sure that you're well hydrated and well fed before you go to bed is going to ensure that you get this nice window of sleep. Sleep is the best thing for recovery, but also if we've had a good night's sleep, it's going to help with our decision making throughout the days and the weeks that go by. Habit number 6 is to up your NEAT. It sounds a lot fancier than what it is. It means non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that basically means the amount of activity we do in a day that isn't sleeping or purposeful exercise. So the amount of walking we do, the amount of fidgeting we do, the amount of, if you have a laborious job, the amount of stuff you do in your day-to-day job, that all adds up and creates a total amount of calories expended throughout the day. And one thing we know is people with high NEAT live longer, they perform better, they're healthier, they tend to sleep better, they tend to be better decision makers, and also they tend to have a better body composition. And for running, that's really important. If our body fat's low, chances are our performance is going to increase. Habit number 7 is getting plenty of greens and blues, basically getting outside. We can talk about all of these habits and what we want to do inside, but if we're not getting outside and getting our greens and blues, we're not getting that exposure to sunlight, and we just tend to be happier people when we're outside. So it's coming into the winter here now in the UK. We just need to make sure that we're getting out a bit more often than what we would usually do, especially if we have an office job where we're inside. I think so many of us work in an office, poor natural light, we get in a car, go home. If we can, let's try and get out for half an hour a day for a bit of a walk. It links into our 10,000 steps a day to up our NEAT, and we're going to get a double benefit from doing that. Habit number 8 is tracking or accountability. So we're much more likely to set these as habits if we're doing it with someone else. So grab a buddy, grab a friend, share this with someone at the running club, and make sure that you're doing this together and you're holding each other accountable, but also you can track it. So you can keep a simple spreadsheet and you can make note of whether you've hit those things or hit each one of these habits each day, and over time you'll be able to look back and see if this has actually become a habit. By repeating it day in, day out, it no longer becomes a thing of effort, it is just in your daily plan. The final habit is 30 minutes of purposeful exercise a day. Now, if we're running 3, 4, 5 times a week, we've got those days covered. But on the days we're not running, if we can bring in 30 minutes of exercise that might be based around recovery, it could be strength work, yoga, stretching, it could even be meditation. The most important thing is we take 30 minutes out of our day each day to focus on ourselves, escape from work, escape from family, and just reflect on either the day that you've just had, or if it's early in the morning, maybe the day ahead of you. So bringing this all together, there's 9 habits. One of those habits is worth 2 points. So a perfect day for us is 10 points. The one thing that we need to remember is that to bring some level of consistency, to get there is not going to happen overnight. And even when we are there, it is fine to let some of these habits drop for a while in order to bring them back. It's all about being consistent imperfectly. That's the important thing. If we can over time be consistent constantly, but our reality of lives is that's never going to happen. You're not always going to get the perfect amount of sleep. You're not always going to hit that perfect level of fruit and veg. You're not always going to get time to be in the kitchen, and that's okay, that's fine. But if most of our time we can try and get a 10-point day, we will get results, and the foundation of what we want will be there. And we're going to be happier, better people. We're going to be better dads, brothers, mothers, sisters, whatever. So these all sound incredibly simple, but if we can get each one of these points right, more often than not, our results are just going to fly.